Hey guys, this is a clip from our podcast, Color Me Bloody. You can find us on iTunes at Color Me Bloody MMA Podcast. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Color Me Bloody. You can also get in contact with us via email, colormebloodymma@gmail.com. All right. Thanks guys. We're a weekly podcast. Check us out.
Real finish there.
Here's my biggest problem. And when we talked about this going into it, as far as whether or not we thought it was okay that Renan Barao was the interim champion. And at the time, I didn't have a huge problem. I wanted the Dominick Cruz fight to be next. I still think looking back on it, maybe there's two champions temper. I feel bad if Dominick Cruz gets stripped. I think no matter what, if he comes back, he gets an immediate match with Renan Barao or whoever is holding on to that interim belt. But it sucks if you look back. If Renan was to beat somebody else after this, even though I'm pretty sure they're trying to say that Dominick Cruz, if he does not fight Renan next, that he will be stripped of his belt.
Okay.
I feel bad for anybody who gets stripped of their belt if they don't actually lose. I also feel bad for the guy who's been filling in the shoes, the number one contender, who's been beating people. I think there should be two belts and then unify the belts. Maybe that's what I think. They carry the same amount of weight because technically Dominick Cruz isn't currently fighting in that weight class. This has been multiple fights now.
Yeah, it has been. Renan Barao is the Bantamweight champ. And in the future, I will refer to him as a former champ at this point.
Yeah, if he never wins again. That's what we said.
I will not call Shane Carwin a former champ.
No.
I will call Renan Barao a former champ.
It's too many defenses. It's been too long of a time. It's been too dominating. And there's just nobody out there right now that can compete. And that includes Dominick Cruz because he's not competing. But I will say this. I thought of a new thing that makes me mad about it. When people think of rankings and when they think about who the best fighters are, number one, they're not thinking about the interim champ of a division. So Renan Barao is kind of getting the short end of the stick. We've seen a lot of champions fall or look worse or be sidelined for a while or whatever. And a lot of fighters get talked up. Renan Barao gets overlooked a lot. And I think it's because he's just the interim champ. If he had been the champ since Dominick Cruz pulled out of their fight, and since he's been retaining that interim belt, I honestly think he'd be up there and in the talks of top fighter in the top 3 to 5 fighters in the UFC, without a doubt.
He'd be on the pound for pound list. He'd be here and there. He'd have his own
top 5 everything
title line bobblehead that the UFC would sell.
Yeah,
I mean, he would be one of those guys. Those in the champions class that they talk about and they praise so much. But you're right, he does get overlooked, and it sucks because
it's because of that. It's because of the interim belt. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
And I do want to see him fight Dominick. That would be really something.
Yeah.
How he would deal with Dominick's movement and his style in general is really intriguing.
He's been one of the most dominating fighters in the past 2 years or so.
And it's really crazy to think about when you put it in perspective how long he's been out. His last fight was against Mighty Mouse, right? Before the flyweight division was even created, and it was on Versus.
Yeah.
It was on Versus. It was before the Fox deal even came about.
Well, way before the Fox deal.
This was a long time ago.
Are you talking about,
it was like UFC on Versus 6 or something in DC, and he faced, Demetrius Johnson. He defended his bantamweight belt. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it sucks. Renan Barao's amazing. Eddie Wineland, he's a good fighter, but it just got outclassed and got caught, and it would have happened had the fight gone on. Let's talk about the main event. John Jones wins a unanimous decision over Alexander Gustafsson